Have you ever wondered what forces shaped the rise and fall of one of history's most controversial figures, Julius Caesar? Indeed, Julius Caesar was more than an emblem of power or an iconic figure of Roman history. He was a man who altered the course of history, whose life and death continue to intrigue us even after more than 2,000 years. A brilliant military strategist, a charismatic leader, a prolific writer, Caesar was all these and more. But he was also an enigma, a paradox that fascinates and baffles historians. His rise to power was meteoric, his rule transformative, and his downfall dramatic. But what led to his ascent and subsequent fall? What were the dynamics behind his extraordinary life and tragic end? These are questions that have haunted historians for centuries. Join us as we unravel the life of Julius Caesar, a tale of ambition, power, and betrayal. Julius Caesar, born in 100 BC to a patrician family, was not a stranger to the power dynamics of Rome. His lineage traced back to the origins of Rome itself, with his family claiming descent from the legendary Trojan prince Aeneas, and through him, the goddess Venus. This noble heritage positioned young Caesar within the intricate web of Roman aristocracy, where power and influence were as much a birthright as they were a battlefield. In the tumultuous world of Roman politics, Caesar began to carve out a name for himself. His first significant step into the political arena came at the tender age of 16, when he was nominated as the Flamen Dialis, the high priest of Jupiter. It was a prestigious position, but it came with a catch. The role required a marriage to a patrician girl. Caesar, however, had already set his heart on Cornelia, the daughter of his father's ally, Lucius Cornelius Cinna. Against the wishes of the then dictator, Sulla, Caesar married Cornelia, a decision that would set him at odds with the ruling power. This defiance marked the beginning of Caesar's reputation as a man who would not bow to authority. The birth of his daughter Julia soon followed. Despite the political turmoil, Caesar's personal life seemed to be flourishing. However, the death of Cornelia in childbirth brought a dark cloud over these joyous times. Caesar was said to have been devastated, but the resilient man that he was, he continued to climb the political ladder, never losing sight of his ambitions. His early political career was a whirlwind of positions. From military tribune to quaestor, aedile to pontifex maximus, each step brought him closer to the ultimate prize, the consulship. His popularity among the common people grew, his charismatic personality and his championing of the public's cause winning him their unwavering support. The stage was set for Caesar's ascent to power, but the path would be fraught with peril. Caesar's rise to power was not a straightforward journey. It was a path filled with alliances, victories, and political maneuverings. The roots of his ascent can be traced back to his alliance with two of the most powerful figures in Rome, Crassus and Pompey. Together, they formed what's known as the First Triumvirate, a political alliance that would eventually pave the way for Caesar's rise. Crassus was a wealthy patrician, while Pompey was a successful military leader. Both had their own spheres of influence and ambitions, but they saw in Caesar a potential ally. Caesar, for his part, needed their financial and military support to further his own political aspirations. This alliance was not born out of friendship, but of mutual advantage. Each member of the triumvirate knew that they could achieve more together than individually, but alliances and political maneuverings were just one part of the story. Caesar's rise to power was also fueled by his military victories, most notably in Gaul. His campaign in Gaul was a masterstroke of military strategy. It expanded Rome's territory, enriched its coffers, and enhanced Caesar's personal reputation. He was hailed as a hero, a conqueror, and the people loved him for it. His popularity among the Roman populace grew immensely. However, his success did not sit well with everyone. The more power Caesar accumulated, the more resentment he stirred among Rome's elites. They saw him not as a hero, but as a threat to the Republic and its traditions. His growing influence made them uneasy, and they began to plot against him. Caesar's rise to power is a tale of ambition, cunning, and sheer force of will. He was a man who knew what he wanted, and was willing to do whatever it took to get it. His story serves as a reminder that power is not just about strength, but also about perception and popularity. With each victory, Caesar's power and influence grew, but so did the resentment among Rome's elites. Caesar's ambition knew no bounds, leading him to declare himself dictator perpetuo. But this marked the beginning of his downfall. Julius Caesar, a man of immense ambition and ruthless strategy, had reached the pinnacle of his power, but he was walking a tightrope. Crossing the Rubicon, a small river in northern Italy, was a bold move indeed for Caesar. This act of defiance against the Roman Senate symbolized his determination and readiness to plunge Rome into civil war. A point of no return, it marked the transition from politics to open conflict and was an audacious declaration of his intent to rule. Upon his return to Rome, Caesar declared himself dictator perpetuo, or dictator in perpetuity. A move that shocked the Senate, it was a clear indication of his ambition to hold power indefinitely. This, however, did not sit well with many influential figures in the Senate who saw it as a direct threat to the Republic's democratic ideals. The political tension this caused was palpable. It was a stark reminder of the balance of power, and it was this imbalance that set the stage for a plot that would change the course of history. A group of senators known as the Liberators, led by Brutus, Cassius, and other influential figures, conspired to assassinate Caesar. They saw it as the only way to restore the Republic. The plot was meticulously planned, with the conspirators choosing the Senate as the place to carry out their plan. On the day of the Ides of March, a day in the Roman calendar that corresponds to the 15th of March, they executed their plot. Caesar was attacked and stabbed multiple times. His reign and life brutally ended in the very institution he had sought to dominate. On the Ides of March 44 BC, Caesar's reign came to a bloody end. The man who had held Rome in his grasp, who had crossed the Rubicon and declared himself dictator perpetuo, met his end at the hands of those he had sought to rule over. His ambition, his rise to power had led him to this point, but that is the nature of power, as volatile and unpredictable as the Ides of March itself. Julius Caesar's life was cut short, but his influence on Rome and the world didn't end with his death. He left behind a legacy that would shape the trajectory of Rome and, by extension, the course of world history. In the wake of Caesar's death, Rome was thrown into a chaotic power struggle. However, it was Caesar's adopted son, Octavian, who would eventually rise to the occasion. Adopted in Caesar's will, the young Octavian was suddenly thrust into the limelight. A shrewd and cunning politician, Octavian knew how to play his cards right. He aligned himself with Mark Antony, one of Caesar's closest allies, and together they defeated the conspirators who had murdered Caesar. But the alliance was short-lived. Octavian and Mark Antony soon found themselves at loggerheads, each vying for the control of Rome. In a series of conflicts known as the Final War of the Roman Republic, Octavian emerged victorious. He would later be known as Augustus, Rome's first emperor, marking the end of the Roman Republic and the beginning of the Roman Empire. Caesar's legacy didn't stop at the transformation of Rome's political landscape. His reforms in administration, law, and social structures had far-reaching impacts. He introduced the Julian calendar, a precursor to our modern Gregorian calendar. He implemented laws to protect the rights of the provinces against abuses of power. He initiated public works projects that improved the infrastructure of Rome. Moreover, Caesar's life and death have been a source of fascination and intrigue for generations. The tales of his military genius, his political machinations, his love affairs, and ultimately his dramatic assassination have been immortalized in literature and art, from Shakespeare's play to countless sculptures and paintings. Julius Caesar, a name etched in history, a life that continues to captivate us even after 2 millennia. His story, his legacy, serves as a reminder of the sheer force of one person's will and the indelible mark it can leave on the world. From his humble beginnings to his meteoric rise and fall, Julius Caesar's life is a testament to the power of ambition and the fragility of power. Born into relative obscurity, Caesar clawed his way up the Roman political ladder, eventually becoming the undisputed ruler of Rome. His achievements were many, from significant military victories to sweeping social reforms, but his thirst for power proved his undoing. On the Ides of March, betrayed by those closest to him, Caesar's reign ended in a brutal assassination. From this captivating tale of power, ambition, and betrayal, we glean profound insights. Caesar's life story serves as a cautionary tale, illuminating the perils of unchecked ambition and the transience of power. It reminds us that even the mightiest can fall, and that power, once attained, must be wielded with wisdom and restraint. In the grand theatre of history, Julius Caesar remains one of its most compelling characters. His story, a stark reminder that power is fleeting, and ambition can be both a catalyst for greatness and a harbinger of downfall.